Well, my first scratch-built foam plane is starting to near completion. So I got one more piece of foam to put on here. I'm waiting until I get some more stuff in the mail so I can finish my making and getting my push rods all like I want them. Once I get my push rods set up like I want them, then I'm going to go ahead and put this last piece of foam on here. I kind of modeled this after a Telemaster. And well, if you've never seen a Telemaster, there's one right there. And you can see a good bit of similarity between the two. Other than, the Telemaster's got a trike gear, and this doesn't have a trike gear. I wasn't gonna put landing gear on it at all. But part of the reason I did was just to add some more weight, because I was afraid this thing might be a little tail heavy. So I mostly put this on here. I may take that off when I get it all done. And if I got plenty of nose weight, I may take this off before I even fly it. So I just stuck it on there. It's a big old heavy off a gas plane. I've been flying nitro off and on for over 20 years, I guess. Telemaster's got a lifting stab on it, so I went ahead and built a lifting stab for this thing. I don't know if it's going to be of any benefit. I've never really seen anybody do it on a foam plane. But the Telemaster had it, so I just figured I'd stick it on there. And I made my own horns. Push through kind. And my split elevator didn't work out right. It just wasn't going to hold up, so I gave up on that. Otherwise, because I wanted to put this horn underneath on the rudder. I had to put it on top because my split elevator just wasn't going to get it. And I'm using one of my old radios on this one. I've got 10 radio systems laying around now. Well, most of them are in planes, but I've got a whole room full of planes back there I haven't flown in several years. So I use standard servos in this one. I think it's going to carry the weight okay. I got a really big thick wing for it. I wanted to be able to get in here, but I didn't want to have to mess with tape, so I used a little skewer there. And I put some little ears on here, and then put a little tab on the front to go under this front piece on the nose. You just slide that in there and put the ears in there and put the skewer in there, and it's gonna stay on. It ain't gonna come off. It ain't gonna come off in flight. That gives me access to pretty much from here up to everything. The wing. The wing is 50 inches with a 10-inch cord. I made a really thick airfoil for it. So I want this to be just kind of a floater type. I want to try to teach my girlfriend how to fly with it. So I just put I want it to just be a really slow speed kind of putting around trainer type plane. I put a little dihedral in the wingtips. The flat center section. The center section was a whole piece of board, 30 inches, and I put 10-inch section on the end with the dihedral at the tips. I built a box type spar, kind of a C shape, whatever. A big box spar in here, so this wing is like pretty much rock solid. I don't think it's going to come apart. When I put my tail on, I chickened out because I had it lined up so perfectly. I already had the fin in here. Since I had that lifting stab, I cut through the top sheet and put it all the way down against the bottom. But I was afraid I just wouldn't be able to get this thing on here straight as I wanted it. So I put the tail on with epoxy to give me some time to work it and get it exactly back where I wanted it. So I did cheat and use epoxy on that. That's not hot glued, which I guess that's against the foam plane rules probably, but hey. And I was afraid the skewers weren't going to be thick enough with that 10-inch cord. I'd going to stretch them rubber bands pretty good, so I went ahead and got some 3/16 inch dowels that think I got those at Michael's. Get a whole bag of them for a few bucks. I use the dowels for that. And it's got a little piece of a craft stick here to keep this from sliding back, but it will fold back or pop the bands or whatever in a hard landing without tearing up the plane, hopefully. And I am using one of my old radio systems, so I'm going to use my old Spectra PCM Airtronics radio, which does everything in the world, except I don't think it's got a crow. I don't think it'll crow, but other than crowing, it'll do everything in the world. So it will have an antenna. There will be an antenna hanging out the back a little bit because it's going to have an antenna. I'm going to use one of my old 72 megahertz FM radios. I got a 2200 milliamp battery, which should... I'm still trying to figure out all this electrical stuff with all the amps and watts and everything, but I got the 2200 milliamp battery. I got a 30 amp speed control. Originally I bought a 45 amp and another motor because I was going to build a one of the flight test kits, one of those quick build things or whatever. So I got this 2200 kV motor and a 45 amp speed control with a SBEC in it. Since I understand the switching speed controllers are supposed to run a little cooler. But then I decided to go ahead and scratch build something instead. So I'm going to set these aside for probably my next project. And I got the 30 amp and I got a 1000 kV motor coming that hasn't got here yet. It's supposed to swing a 10-inch prop. So that 2200 is supposed to swing like a 6 or something. So I figured I needed something a little slower with a little bigger prop because I'm hoping this is going to be kind of a big floating around kind of trainer plane, which is why I put the really thick airfoil and everything on it. And I did put some creases in it when I folded it to kind of give it that turbulator spar kind of look, which makes that slows the airflow down a little bit and gives it just a little bit more lift. That wing should get all kinds of lift. It ought to more than be enough to carry the standard size servos. It's not that much extra weight. I do have some 9-gram Emaxes coming that I'm going to use in my next project. I just don't know if I really trust them little $2 tower powers or whatever they are. So I got to spend a little more on some servos I got coming for my next plane. The Emax are supposed to be really good. And then I do have another Spectrum DX6i coming I bought, which may go on my next plane. And I've got a 80 amp IMAX charger coming because the only thing I've got right now is a little thing that came with my Radian, which I really like flying the Radian. That's a really good flying plane. I like sailplanes. But, let's see. I guess that's about it, other than when I put this together I had a whole pile of these old hinges left over because I always take them out of kits and wouldn't use them and use the CA hinges. They got a little metal pin in them. So just for the heck of it, I decided to hinge these things with these hinges instead of using the tape hinge. So this actually has hinges in it. I may not use those again. I just used them in this plane just for the heck of it. But I have learned quite a few tips on working with the foam and some of the electrical stuff from Experimental Airlines, flight test goofballs, and just a lot of other people. I've been watching videos for several weeks now, watching people build all these crazy planes. I decided I'd build me a couple out of foam, although I'm kind of looking to make planes that look more like planes than some of the creations I've seen. But who knows what I'll come up with in the future. But I should have the rest of the parts to finish this thing in a couple, 3 days, but I probably won't test fly it till the next time I go down to visit my girlfriend in Texas. So it may be several weeks before I maiden this thing, but when I do, I'm going to have her video it, and good or bad, I'll put it on YouTube. It may fly like a charm, and it may be a total pig. It may just crash and burn, who knows, but you'll get to see it fly later on if you want to. It'll be on YouTube. So Oh, one other thing, the initial investment, because I ended up having to go out and buy a cutting mat because cardboard don't get it. You need a cutting mat. The cutting mat, the hot glue guns, bags of dowel rods, boxes of the craft sticks, which I use to make like these little circles here that I put the dowel rods through, then glued them on here to make sure this all didn't wallow out. And well, I got plenty of them sticks and dowel rods. I got a bunch of tape. The initial investment when you're getting into these, you got to spend a few bucks, but I've got enough dowel rods and craft sticks, and still got a bunch of got a little sheet of plywood. I got enough of that stuff to make a bunch more planes. So once you get over that initial investment, it's pretty cheap to throw these things together. Now I did put just a little bit of down thrust in my firewall there when I put it in. Maybe 2 degrees, if even that, just a tiny bit of down thrust in it. Left a little gap above and below, get a little airflow through there, so hopefully everything will stay cool. But once you get past the initial investment, I think this is going to be really cheap, and it's going to be pretty fun. And I've always built with balsa and light ply and everything. But I actually kind of enjoyed building this little foam thing. So I may end up being a foamy with the rest of the guys here instead of building with wood. So anyhow, I'll put a video up when I get to fly it here in a few weeks. So keep an eye out for it if you care.